What if I told you that one of the most terrifying villains in literary history could also be your greatest teacher? Today, we're diving deep into Thomas Harris's masterpiece, The Silence of the Lambs, a psychological thriller that redefined the genre and gave us one of fiction's most unforgettable characters combinations. This isn't just another crime novel in review. We're exploring how Harris crafted a story that continues to haunt readers decades later. Published in 1988, The Silence of the Lambs stands as Thomas Harris's crowning achievement in psychological horror fiction. This novel represents the second installment in Harris's Hannibal Lecter series, following Red Dragon, yet it operates brilliantly as a standalone masterpiece. The book catapulted Harris from respected crime writer to literary legend, establishing him as the undisputed master of sophisticated psychological terror. Harris brings together two unforgettable characters: Clarice Starling, a determined FBI trainee fighting to prove herself in a male-dominated field, and Dr. Hannibal Lecter, the brilliant psychiatrist turned cannibalistic serial killer. Their unlikely partnership forms the emotional core of this gripping narrative, creating a relationship that transcends typical hero-villain dynamics. The novel's genius lies in Harris's meticulous research and psychological depth. He spent extensive time with FBI profilers, studying criminal psychology and forensic techniques to create an authentic foundation for his fictional world. This commitment to realism transforms what could have been simple shock value into genuine literary achievement. The Silence of the Lambs operates on multiple levels simultaneously. Surface readers encounter a pulse-pounding thriller about hunting a serial killer nicknamed Buffalo Bill. Deeper examination reveals profound themes about trauma, gender dynamics, professional ambition, and the complex nature of evil itself. Harris weaves these elements together with surgical precision, creating a narrative that rewards both casual readers and literary scholars. The book's cultural impact extends far beyond publishing success. It fundamentally changed how audiences perceive intelligent villains in popular culture, establishing the template for sophisticated antagonists who challenge protagonists intellectually rather than merely physically. This influence continues resonating through contemporary crime fiction and psychological thrillers. The story begins when Clarice Starling, a promising FBI Academy student, receives an assignment that will define her career. Her superior, Jack Crawford, head of the Behavioral Science Unit, tasks her with interviewing Dr. Hannibal Lecter, a former psychiatrist imprisoned for cannibalism and multiple murders. The official reason involves gathering insights for psychological research, but Crawford harbours deeper motives. A new serial killer, dubbed Buffalo Bill by the media, has been terrorising women across the Midwest. This killer's disturbing signature involves skinning his victims, leading investigators to suspect he's creating some macabre garment from human flesh. Traditional investigative methods have failed, forcing Crawford to seek unconventional assistance from the imprisoned genius who understands the criminal mind better than anyone alive. Clarice's initial encounter with Lecter in his Baltimore State Hospital cell establishes their complex dynamic immediately. Lecter possesses information crucial to catching Buffalo Bill, but he never provides assistance without extracting something valuable in return. He becomes fascinated by Clarice's personal history, particularly her traumatic childhood experiences involving her father's death and her attempts to save screaming lambs from slaughter. The investigation intensifies when Buffalo Bill kidnaps Catherine Martin, daughter of a prominent senator. This high-profile victim transforms the case from routine serial killer investigation into a national emergency with political ramifications. The FBI faces enormous pressure to solve the case quickly, while Clarice finds herself thrust into the spotlight as Lecter's primary contact. As Clarice delves deeper into both cases, she discovers connections between Buffalo Bill's methodology and Lecter's psychological insights. The imprisoned doctor becomes her unofficial mentor, teaching her to think like a predator, while simultaneously manipulating her emotions and memories. Their relationship evolves from professional necessity into something resembling twisted friendship, with Lecter serving as both ally and potential threat. The climax builds toward a terrifying confrontation where Clarice must apply everything she's learned from Lecter to survive a deadly encounter with Buffalo Bill. Meanwhile, Lecter executes his own carefully planned escape, leaving Clarice to face the consequences of their partnership. The resolution provides closure to the immediate threat while establishing the foundation for their continuing relationship in future installments. The narrative structure of The Silence of the Lambs revolves around 8 pivotal events that drive the story forward, while developing the central characters and themes. Each event builds upon previous developments, creating momentum that propels readers through increasingly intense psychological territory. The opening assignment marks Clarice's entry into a world far beyond her FBI Academy training. Jack Crawford's decision to send a student rather than an experienced agent to interview Lecter initially appears routine, but Harris reveals the calculated nature of this choice. Crawford specifically selects Clarice because her gender and inexperience might disarm Lecter's defences, while her intelligence and determination make her capable of handling the psychological challenges ahead. This scene establishes the power dynamics that will define the entire narrative. Clarice's first meeting with Hannibal Lecter in his underground cell represents the story's emotional and thematic centre. Harris crafts this encounter with theatrical precision, using the prison setting to create an atmosphere of controlled menace. Lecter's initial assessment of Clarice demonstrates his extraordinary analytical abilities while revealing his fascination with her psychological makeup. Their conversation about her childhood trauma with the lambs introduces the central metaphor that gives the book its title, establishing the symbolic framework for Clarice's character development. The discovery of Buffalo Bill's latest victim provides crucial forensic evidence that advances the investigation while deepening the horror. Harris's detailed description of the crime scene demonstrates his commitment to authentic police procedural elements. The victim's condition reveals Buffalo Bill's escalating confidence and refined technique, suggesting the killer is approaching his ultimate goal. This scene also showcases Clarice's growing competence as an investigator as she notices details that experienced agents miss. Buffalo Bill's abduction of Catherine Martin transforms the investigation from academic exercise into life or death race against time. The victim's high-profile status brings unwanted political pressure while providing the FBI with resources and motivation to pursue unconventional investigative methods. Harris uses this development to explore themes of class privilege and media manipulation, showing how certain victims receive more attention than others based on their social status rather than their inherent worth. Lecter's psychological manipulation of Clarice reaches its peak during their final prison interview. He agrees to provide crucial information about Buffalo Bill's identity and location, but only after extracting painful personal revelations from Clarice about her father's death and her recurring nightmares. This scene demonstrates Lecter's dual nature as both helpful mentor and dangerous predator, showing how he simultaneously aids and exploits those around him for his own psychological gratification. The FBI's failed raid on Buffalo Bill's supposed hideout represents a crucial turning point in the investigation. Based on Lecter's deliberately misleading information, the authorities storm the wrong location, while the real killer remains free with his victim. This misdirection serves multiple narrative purposes. It demonstrates Lecter's manipulative nature, increases tension around Catherine's fate, and forces Clarice to rely on her own investigative instincts rather than following orders from superiors. Clarice's solo confrontation with Buffalo Bill in his basement lair provides the story's action climax while testing everything she's learned throughout the investigation. Harris creates genuine suspense by placing his protagonist in mortal danger, while armed only with her training and psychological insights gained from Lecter. The killer's house of horrors reveals the full extent of his madness, while Clarice's survival demonstrates her growth from inexperienced student into competent professional. Lecter's elaborate escape from custody serves as the story's final major event, providing resolution to his character arc while establishing the foundation for future installments. His violent breakout demonstrates that despite his helpful cooperation, he remains fundamentally dangerous and unpredictable. The escape also resolves the tension between Clarice and Lecter, transforming their relationship from professional necessity into ongoing personal connection that will continue beyond the immediate story. The Silence of the Lambs offers readers profound insights into human psychology, professional development, and the nature of evil that extend far beyond its thriller genre conventions. These lessons provide valuable guidance for understanding both fictional narratives and real-world situations. Understanding criminal psychology requires looking beyond surface behaviours to examine underlying motivations and thought patterns. Harris demonstrates how skilled investigators like Clarice learn to think like predators without becoming predators themselves. This principle applies to many professional situations where understanding opposing viewpoints or difficult personalities becomes essential for success. The book shows how developing analytical empathy, the ability to understand someone's perspective without accepting or approving of their actions, can be a powerful tool for problem solving and conflict resolution. Professional credibility must be earned through competence rather than demanded through authority. Clarice's journey from dismissed student to respected investigator illustrates how sustained excellence gradually overcomes initial skepticism. Her male colleagues initially underestimate her capabilities, but her consistent performance eventually forces them to acknowledge her skills. This lesson applies to anyone entering competitive professional environments, where they must prove themselves despite facing discrimination or doubt. Mentorship can emerge from unexpected sources, even those with questionable motives. Lecter's guidance proves invaluable to Clarice's development, despite his obvious manipulative tendencies and criminal background. Harris shows how skilled professionals can extract valuable knowledge from imperfect teachers while maintaining appropriate boundaries. This principle suggests that learning opportunities exist everywhere, even in challenging relationships, provided one maintains critical thinking and emotional intelligence. Trauma can be transformed into strength through careful processing and professional application. Clarice's childhood experiences with her father's death and the screaming lambs initially represent psychological wounds that haunt her dreams. However, her ability to connect these experiences to her professional mission gives them meaning and purpose. The book demonstrates how properly channeled personal pain can become a source of empathy and motivation, rather than debilitating weakness. Intuition and analytical thinking must work together for optimal problem solving. Clarice's success comes from combining her natural instincts with rigorous training and logical analysis. She learns to trust her gut feelings while supporting them with evidence and rational evaluation. This balance between emotional intelligence and intellectual rigour represents an essential skill for professionals in any field requiring complex decision-making under pressure. Manipulation tactics can be recognised and countered through awareness and preparation. Lecter's sophisticated psychological manipulation techniques become less effective as Clarice learns to recognise his methods. Harris shows how understanding common manipulation strategies, flattery, emotional exploitation, false reciprocity, can help individuals maintain their autonomy in challenging interpersonal situations. This knowledge proves valuable in both personal and professional relationships. Gender dynamics in professional environments require strategic navigation rather than direct confrontation. Clarice's approach to workplace sexism demonstrates how skilled professionals can overcome systemic barriers through excellence and strategic thinking. Rather than engaging in futile arguments about fairness, she focuses on delivering results that cannot be dismissed or minimized. This strategy proves more effective than direct confrontation in changing attitudes and opening opportunities. The nature of evil is complex and multifaceted, requiring nuanced understanding rather than simplistic categorization. Harris presents multiple types of criminal behavior through different characters, showing how evil manifests in various forms with different motivations. This complexity suggests that effective responses to harmful behaviour must be tailored to specific situations rather than applied universally. Professional ethics require constant vigilance and clear boundaries, especially when dealing with manipulative individuals. Clarice's relationship with Lecter demonstrates how professionals can maintain ethical standards while engaging with morally compromised sources. The book shows how establishing clear limits and regularly evaluating one's motivations can prevent ethical compromise, even in challenging circumstances. Personal growth often requires confronting uncomfortable truths about oneself and one's past. Clarice's journey involves acknowledging her traumatic experiences and understanding how they shaped her personality and career choices. This self-awareness enables her to use her experiences constructively rather than being controlled by them unconsciously. The Silence of the Lambs endures as a masterpiece because Thomas Harris created something far more sophisticated than a simple thriller. Through the unlikely partnership between Clarice Starling and Hannibal Lecter, he crafted a complex meditation on mentorship, professional development, and the psychological costs of confronting evil. The novel's enduring popularity stems from its ability to function simultaneously as entertainment and serious literature, providing pulse-pounding suspense while exploring profound themes about human nature and moral complexity. Harris's greatest achievement lies in creating characters who transcend their genre conventions to become genuine literary figures. Clarice Starling represents more than just another determined detective. She embodies the struggle of anyone fighting to prove themselves in challenging professional environments. Her growth from uncertain student to confident professional provides a compelling template for personal development that resonates with readers across different backgrounds and careers. The book's influence on popular culture extends far beyond its immediate success, establishing narrative templates and character archetypes that continue shaping contemporary fiction. The sophisticated villain, the unlikely mentor-student relationship, and the psychological thriller formats all trace their modern forms back to Harris's innovations in this novel. These elements have become so fundamental to the genre that their origins are often forgotten. Perhaps most importantly, The Silence of the Lambs demonstrates how skilled authors can use genre fiction to explore serious themes without sacrificing entertainment value. Harris proves that psychological depth and thrilling action can coexist, creating narratives that satisfy both casual readers seeking excitement and serious readers pursuing meaningful content. This balance represents the highest achievement in popular fiction, showing how great storytelling can bridge the gap between commercial success and artistic merit.